And this week, again, we're going to be talking about Dragon Ball Super Hero, the new film. So spoilers in advance again. Um, yeah,
Spoiler,
but
spoilers, all the time. Spoilers.
again, it's in the title of the video. So if you've clicked on it and you're watching up to this point, then you know there's going to be spoilers by now. Um, yeah, we have looked online. Well, I looked online and found this take by someone somewhere, and they have said Max Cell is a terrible main villain for the end of the film. As far as main villains go, we were teased in trailers with Cell, and there was a lot of fan-made images of Perfect Cell returning, which would have been nice to see, and a lot of interactions would have been possible between Cell and Gohan, especially if he kept his memories. But instead, we were given the bootleg version of Cell, who is big and screams a lot but doesn't do much else. Feels like a letdown compared to what could have been. So what do you think
That,
about that?
I agree. 100% agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've kind of talked about this in our spoiler review that it's a Hirudegarden 2.0, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I
Which
think that
it's a
like
shame to say because Hirudegarn was fine for that film because they didn't need that type of enemy because they introduced a new hero, I guess, in Tapion. And, it was his villain. It was a Trunks film, but Trunks was almost like the side hero in the film to Tapion. This was about Tapion and his past and his enemy. And it was fine that it was a big giant enemy that didn't speak. Whereas here, it just felt like they didn't need to have it be Cell. Like they're only making it Cell because we know who Cell is. They could have had a giant monster, a giant new android, and it wouldn't have made any difference. But just the fact that it's Cell, it's disappointing because it's not the same Cell.
well, I mean, and I mean, people can again say for Broly, oh well, all Broly did was shout. Well, no, Broly just didn't shout because there was an entire section of the arc of the film prior where we saw Broly show who he was,
Hmm.
and he was this gentle giant, and that he had this power hidden underneath that he couldn't control.
Hmm.
Um, and again, so there was exposition prior. So like Tapeon, there was exposition prior. There
Hmm.
was something before that. Whereas this cell is literally, first of all, it's semi-perfect cell, so it's the worst cell.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the
Hmm.
dumbest looking cell. I hate everything about semi-perfect cell. It's an awful looking model. I don't
Hmm.
know why they chose that one
Hmm.
with his weird face.
The
Like,
giant lips.
yeah, like they literally they actually make jokes about it in Abridged.
Hmm.
Like it's something they say. Um, like the thing is, first form Cell and Perfect Cell are so much more intimidating as
Yeah.
characters. Like you, even in the fan made images and everything. I guess I know they're fan made, and so the film creators don't owe us anything there
Hmm.
because that's something we as the fans have done.
Hmm.
So they can turn around and say, "Well, you did that. They were your creations and not ours."
Yeah,
But
but they did
yeah,
that because they teased the pod, which is what Cell originally came out of, and we thought, oh my
yeah,
god, we're getting Cell back again. And everyone would assume it's the same Cell because why wouldn't they?
yeah.
Why would we get Cell 2.0 who's just a goon who doesn't do anything?
Like why would it be middle cell? It was either going to be first cell or third cell. It's as simple as that, and it would be third cell because he's the strongest cell. So
Yeah.
if you're gonna have the most powerful android, you're gonna have third cell.
Hmm.
Yeah, but the two scariest cells are first cell or last cell. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, imperfect or perfect because they were just the best looking ones by far.
Hmm.
um, but yeah, and it's like so there was no ability to interact. He couldn't even talk. There was no reason for him not to be able to talk. That
No.
is ridiculous. Why was he just screaming? I don't understand it. It didn't make any sense whatsoever. Like, I don't need a screaming monster after we've had all this really cool build up. Like, the Gammas were really interesting. I
Yeah, I really
really
like the Gammas.
loved the Gammas. They were great.
Hmm.
Like, Gamma 1 and 2, like, they had such good chemistry. Like, Gamma 2 was just such a great meme. He was a walking meme, and he worked so well against what, like, it would have been interesting for them to both be silly, but the
Mm.
fact that Gamma 1's so serious all the time and Gamma 2's just so dumb all the time
Mm.
plays so well,
Hmm.
because one's just like, you're an idiot.
Yeah,
And two's just like, I don't care.
yeah.
And it just plays so well. And then they're obviously very good fighters on top of that.
Hmm.
And it just works. And then, of course, the way they fight later, and obviously two goes out like a literal superhero.
Mm. Yeah.
He goes out. He is,
Sacrificing himself.
yeah, like his sacrifice is so good.
Mm.
His death is just one of the best moments of the film.
Mm.
It's just brilliant. Um, they are fantastic characters, and then you've got this. I don't get it.
I don't get
Yeah, I
it
don't get it.
because I even seen a fan made picture of a version of Cell, which was like
Is this the
a
white one? The white
it
perfect
was
cell.
like a gold version of Cell, but it was like a fusion of Gamma One and Gamma Two.
Mhm.
So they had a lot of he had a lot of gamma features, but you could tell it was Cell as well. And I thought even that would have been better, but
See, now that idea is brilliant. Fuse, like, because there's twins. They're twins. It just makes sense,
yeah,
because he absorbed 17 and 18. He absorbed two characters to become Perfect Cell.
yeah,
So the joining of two characters, aka fusion, to become Perfect Cell would have made absolutely perfect sense.
yeah.
So I don't know why they didn't go with it.
I feel like they teased us too much with them. You know, our expectations were so high for Cell, or even just so high for a new villain to be the big bad, because we had already seen in the teasers the pictures of Gamma One and Gamma Two. We know what they look like. We've seen this pod, and we can only assume this is the main big villain in here. And because it's a pod, and because it's androids and everything else, Cell was the obvious choice. But they didn't need to do that. They should, in my opinion, since they're not going with the same Cell, this is a new version of Cell, they should have not even had Cell at all. Yes, you can have a pod because I guess if you're doing androids and that's how Cell was made, then maybe that's how other androids are made as well. But don't have it be Cell at all. Make a giant monster android who's new, a completely new design, completely new look, and then people wouldn't be disappointed. But because you've even named him Cell, people compare it to other Cell and get let down because it's nothing like original Cell. So it's like, what can you do? They messed up. I think they did mess up with the main villain. They shouldn't have had it be Cell in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I think it's really odd because they have kind of toyed with people's expectations
Hmm.
in a really weird way. I mean, they knew how people were going to react the entire time.
Yeah. Like, did they
And
expect people to be happy to see this version of Cell?
especially semi-perfect. Like,
Yeah. Like
no, when you think of
Cell is a
Cell,
good character. People love
yeah,
Cell, and it's not the same Cell.
yeah. When people talk about Cell, they don't think of the weird chunky Cell.
Yeah.
Like, the only time you think back to Cell is when you think about when Vegeta let it change into literal perfect Cell. It's the only thing you're waiting for semi-perfect Cell, when to become perfect Cell.
Yeah.
All the memories you have of Cell are of perfect Cell.
Hmm.
Why have you got Chunky Cell as your final villain?
I
I
mean,
don't I don't get where the creative writers were going when they thought, let's get Cell involved. And yeah, which Cell? The chunky one with the weird lips. It's like, why that one?
I'll
Why?
be honest. I do like the new attacks that this Max Cell has. Like, I love the purple beams coming out of all of his paws. I thought that was pretty cool. And the death ball thing, even though we didn't see him do anything with it, it was just
Yeah.
a ball of energy. I thought that was pretty cool as well. But apart from that, is that really it?
No,
He's
it's
got a cool new technique with the purple beams, but eh. Just they could have made it like I said, they could have just made a new big android and have him do that. It didn't need to look like Cell.
yeah. And it didn't even seem to have the same like any relative same abilities because when Gamma attacked him and blew his arm off,
Hmm.
he didn't grow it back.
Yeah. He doesn't have
So
regen, maybe?
no, as far as I can tell, he doesn't have regeneration abilities, which is one of the most important abilities that
That's so hard.
Cell had.
Unless I guess he didn't really have time to use it either, because he
Well,
was being constantly rushed since that point. But still,
literally, Cell did it in half a second
yeah,
after
he just
being.
went on.
Yeah, he literally did it that quickly.
Yeah.
Like after he got instant transmission Kamehameha, after he got his Kamehameha reflected by Gohan,
Hmm.
it takes him like literally a second.
Yeah, I guess this version of Cell was more robot than he was made up of actual cells because he had a weak point. You just needed to destroy the head for him to blow up, and that's it.
Yeah,
Which was similar to the original Android, like 16, 17, and 18, all had bombs inside. Well, yeah, they had bombs inside them, and that was their whole thing to
yeah,
explode. They didn't regen. So this cell can't regen. He is a robot.
definitely. Yeah, it's definitely an inferior. I mean, to be fair, they did say he wasn't ready yet,
It's
but
true.
it seemed to be he's not ready yet because he's not fully controllable.
Mm,
Is seems to be what it was hinting at.
yeah.
But obviously, we don't 100% know because
Mm,
we didn't have the subtitles.
mm.
We'll find out later in a couple of months' time um, when the dub comes out. um, but yeah, I don't. I still don't get the choice. I think it was a mistake.
Mm,
Um, I enjoyed the games. I thought the games were fantastic.
yeah. If it wasn't for them, I think this movie probably would have been a bit of a letdown. But because
Yeah,
the Gammas were so good and good new villains ish kind of, they were villain well, they weren't really villains, but they were the ones who put up the good fight scenes, I guess.
yeah,
Um and then just having Cell around just like, okay, fine, it's a big bad monster, which is fine, but it just didn't need to be Cell.
yeah.
Yeah.
It should have been. I think it would have been more interesting to have something
New.
like yeah. I think they should have shown something new. There was
Yeah.
no need reason for it to be Cell because it the semi-perfect Cell meant nothing. It was just pointless.
I think it was a market ploy. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, we've brought back Frieza before. Now we're teasing bringing back Cell. Let's see this other
yeah.
villain that everyone really likes. So I think they did that to boost sales.
Nobody likes semi-perfect Cell.
Exactly.
Like if you did a poll of the best supervillains in Dragon Ball, and you said like, and you actually like name them all, and you
Mm.
include like all the transformations and stuff like that, I can guarantee that he would be near the bottom.
Yeah.
I can guarantee it. I would
Yeah.
bet you life savings that that form would be near the bottom.
Yeah.
Like it's just an awful
I
transformation.
mean, I guess they needed a reason to bring him back, like a thing that makes sense, and bringing him back as an actual android rather than a being is one way of doing it. But also, they just shouldn't have done that. They shouldn't have teased it's going to be Cell to get everyone's expectations up high. That was fully just a marketing ploy because they even teased Frieza being back, which wasn't true at all. But teasing
I know he was
Cell,
actually in the trailers. He was physically in the trailers, and
yeah,
he was nowhere in the film.
yeah, it was a flashback 2 second picture of Frieza that was shown, and
Yeah,
that was it. But yeah, they teased Cell as a marketing ploy, and they shouldn't have done that. They should have made a brand new villain who is fine to be a screaming monster as the main villain. I'm not against a screamy big monster being the end villain. I'm just against it actually being Cell, I guess,
yeah.
and that being the tease. It just didn't need to be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
even if they people are saying, oh well, like it wouldn't have made sense for it to be perfect cell because why would it have the memories of Gohan? Like if it's it, well, fine, then don't have it as cell.
yeah,
Just don't have it as cell.
yeah. Well,
It didn't need cell.
well, if you're gonna have Cell, make it the same Cell. Make some sort of reason like we managed to somehow find a single Cell from the original Cell, and we've rebuilt him, and he has the memories and stuff. He just needs to be unleashed.
Yeah,
And yeah,
this is Doctor Giroud's grandson.
Hmm.
Like, he has the technology link. There'll be a way to bring it in, I'm sure.
Yeah,
This is Dragon Ball Z science. Or rather, this is Dragon Ball science. I'm sure there's a way. Like,
exactly.
come on. Like,
Like he made the gammas, he can try and recreate Cell or whatever, but it is what it is. But I
yeah.
think we're both in agreement that, yeah, we agree with this take. It shouldn't have been
Yeah.
Cell. It was a bit of a disappointment.